Hello, Flosstube. It's very exciting to see you all. I'm Roz. This is my home on the internet, Roz Clark Craft. And those of you who've watched my videos before will know this is not my home. This is not my home in real life. I am filming this episode in my hotel room at the end of the Stitch in London cross stitch retreat. So it is Sunday evening. The retreat began on Friday morning, and I have a lot to tell you. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do this in a vaguely chronological order. So the first thing I want to do is talk to you about the things that I brought with me to the retreat, particularly to give away. So I filmed some footage of that before I left, and I'm going to put that in now. You're going to see what I brought for the smalls exchange and table giveaways, and do you know, I can't even remember. So you are going to watch that now. It's Thursday the 13th of October. Tomorrow is the first day of the Stitch in London cross stitch retreat, which I'm going to, which I'm very excited about. I was a bit nervous. I came down with a really bad cold yesterday, and I was a bit nervous that it was going to turn out to be COVID. But anyway, I've tested and it's negative, and the cold is much better today. So I'm hoping that by tomorrow it will be better still and everything will be all fine. I will just do a COVID test again before I go, but I think it's all going to be fine. So I wanted to just film a little bit now to show you some of the things that I'm taking with me to the retreat. You're not going to see me because I'm all snotty and, you know, yeah, horrible looking, and my voice is a little bit like that as well. But I did want to show you some of the things that I take with me to the retreat. I'm going to try and do a little bit of filming while I'm there, and obviously I'll film when I get back and do a roundup. So I guess you probably won't be seeing this for at least a week or so after I've filmed. That's a bit weird. But anyway, you don't know that. You're just watching this as we go. So first of all, I'm going to show you what we've got here. This is what I've made to take as gifts for people on my table. I've made these little floss rings with a little bit of floss bling. These, I really liked these holders, and they came together with the glass cabochons all in one set. I will put the link. They were just from Amazon, but they're all slightly different. Do you see different patterns? They're a little bit steampunky, I think, which is not absolutely my vibe, but I thought yeah, I really liked those. And then the inserts I just cut from some old scrapbooking paper that I had. So there's butterflies and flowers and birds and various kinds. And then on those, I have put for each person a set of floss drops. So these are based on my cat snail pattern, the small cat snail pattern, I think. You'll see from that. And on the back, there's space for people to write the colour or the colour number, depending, you know, if you're using DMC, you just put the number. If you're using an overdyed floss, you put the name and then the symbol that it is on your chart. And then I've also just put my name and links. So hopefully people will like those. I know not everyone uses floss drops, not everyone stores their floss in that kind of way, but you know, people can take the cards off and use them to wrap in whatever way they want or do whatever. But so there's a whole little set of those, which I have had fun putting together. I have to say, gluing is not my superpower. I've never been good at gluing in a neat and organised way, and I was really pleased with how these turned out. And then I looked at them the next morning, I was like, oh yeah, no, there are bits of glue everywhere. I've done my best to tidy it all up, and I'm not embarrassed to give these, but it is not perfect. Anyway, they're pretty sturdy, so you know they're glued together fine. But there we go. I've got a spare floss drop here just in case there's an extra person that I hadn't planned for, and I've got a ring here which has got my extra floss drops. So if anyone, you know, I might hand those out to a few people at the retreat as well if anyone's interested. So that's the first thing I'm taking. The next thing I'm taking is for the smalls exchange. So some of you might remember earlier in the summer I was asking if anyone knew of smalls exchange that was happening in the UK, and I got various links, and I found a place on Facebook, but nothing ever quite worked out. And then when the retreat came up, that there was going to be a smalls exchange of that, so I was really excited. And the main reason I was so excited is I found a pattern that I really wanted to do for a smalls exchange. It wasn't something I was ever going to stitch for myself, but I really wanted to stitch it, and I really loved it, and I thought it'd be perfect. And so this is what I've made. It's a biscornu, obviously, and it's a sort of detective themed biscornu. I love this. The sort of fingerprint, and then the magnifying glass with the magnified fingerprint, and then there are the muddy footsteps and the padlock, and some of the padlocks are open, and then the sort of police tape and the blood. Now, I have to say I've made changes. This is based on a pattern from X Stitch magazine earlier in the summer. It's the mystery edition. I can't remember what month it came out, but the mystery edition. I chose to do mine on a dark fabric. It's a blackboard, can't remember, from Permin anyway. So it's sort of off black, charcoal greyish black. So I needed to change some of the colours. I also really wanted to do this sort of police tape here, whereas the original pattern had something in grey. So I changed up some of the colours, and then I did change up some of the design as well. There was originally a pair of sunglasses here, which I didn't think were going to show up well on the black, and I didn't think were particularly fit with the theme. So I moved the footsteps around and added in the padlock. So, you know me, I can't leave well alone, never met a pattern, even when I wanted to stitch as much as this, that I didn't also want to change up. I'm particularly pleased, actually, in the middle here, I've put these beads. I have had those beads, I would say, for at least 15 years, possibly longer. I mean, I do still have hundreds of them, but also, you know, they seem to me perfect for this. The thing that I'm least pleased about this, and I did contemplate going back and doing something about it, and then I in the end decided it was okay, but you can see I think it's showing up quite well on camera. I stuffed them with a mixture of polyfill and also a scoop of crushed walnut shells, and actually, so this is 18 count Aida, I think, maybe 16 count, but actually the crushed walnut shells do just about get through the holes. So I've sort of cleaned it up as best I can, but there are still one or two bits coming through, so it's not absolutely perfect, and I'm a bit disappointed by that. I might give it another go before I wrap it up completely to see if I can clean that up a little bit. But anyway, in general, I'm really pleased with it. I think it looks great. I think it's really fun. And so with the swap exchange, what you do is you wrap your stitched item, and if you want to add freebie, other sort of freebies along with that as well, in some way that indicates the theme of what you've stitched. So lots of people, for example, might do Christmas themed ornaments and they'll put them in Christmas wrapping. You might do something samplerish and then, you know, try and find something that would indicate that. So anyway, what am I going to do? Well, I'll show you the things I'm including with it. I thought, what would be the best mystery chocolate? I always think Revels. I mean, you can sort of tell with some of them what you're going to get, but also, like, you can never tell, I think, whether it's going to be an orange or a coffee Revel. What have we got? Oh, I can't read on the back of here now. All the different kinds of Revel. There are coffee, raisin, orange, chocolate. Those are the ones that are sort of flat buttons. They're quite easy to tell. Toffee and Malteser. Usually you can tell the Maltesers. But anyway, I think they're quite fun. So you never quite know what you're going to get. So there's a little bit of a mystery there. I also picked up earlier in the summer this wooden floss holder that you can stitch into, and so I've just stitched a question mark into that. So I thought that was quite nice. And then, which I thought would go really well with the theme, I found an embroidery mystery, The Quicken the Thread. I've not read this. I don't know if it's any good, but you know how you get, particularly there's a whole genre of cozy mysteries set in knitting shops, and I was sure there must be one that would be set around a sort of needlework shop. So I was pleased to find this in this town. Stitching can be deadly. So I don't know if it's any good, but even if it isn't, I think it's quite a fun idea. yeah, so that's what my person is going to get. They're going to get a little note. They're going to get the book, the floss holder, the Rebels, and the biscornu. And I'm going to wrap it up. I've got some wrapping paper, which is, I haven't got handy, otherwise I'd show you, quotes from lots of books. But I thought I would also just add this. This was just, you know, a sort of really cheap child's toy magnifying glass to the outside, again, as a sort of clue to the theme. So that has been really fun to do and to put together and think about different items. There's a £10 limit for what you could include with your stitched item, and I think I've just about stayed within that for those things. And then there is one final thing that I'm going to take that I've been working on for a little while and has been a secret, but by the time you see it, the secret will be revealed, and that is this. It is a little freebie pattern that everyone who comes to the retreat is going to get as a free download. So we will all be getting a pattern and a kit to stitch up something while we're there. I don't know who's designed that or what that would be like, and that'll be exciting. But I came up with this idea, and I reached out to Marie from Stitches and Diamonds, who's running the retreat, and said, would you be interested in having this little extra freebie pattern? And she's been so lovely and was so enthusiastic about it. So everybody's going to get a chance to stitch this as well. And I had a lot of fun thinking about how to include different sort of stitch items and stitches and so on in that very British Union Jack. So it's fun. And I have been thinking about, I haven't stitched any of them, but I've been working on a set of designs for Union Jack themed patterns, sort of seasonal set, so spring, summer, autumn and winter, using that layout. So watch this space, that might be coming later. So those are all the things I'm taking to give away. In terms of things I'm taking to work on, I am taking this. So this I made last weekend. It is a stitching buddy. I used a pattern from Etsy, Rosie Taylor Crafts, so I'll put the link to that. I had been planning, you'll remember some of you, the Doreen Jones stitching roll pattern that I've been working on from World of Cross Stitch magazine. I'll show you that later in the video anyway. This is what I'd been hoping to use that for, but it became really clear that I wasn't going to finish that in time, and I wanted to make this anyway. So the fabric I have used is from Tula Pink, her handmade line, with all of these sewing items and this ribbon with the sewing machines across. And it just, that's the back actually, it just, I put an elastic around. The original has a tie, but I put elastic around it. I made quite a lot of changes to this, fair to say. And so over here, it's got, this is a little space for catching your orts, and that velcros down. It also velcros open, and so that's just to stop any threads catching on the velcro when it's open, and there's a little pocket there to hold that. In the middle here, this pocket is for needles, and I've got this very sweet little needle box, which is quite difficult to open one-handed. I will try. Oh dear, now my needle minder has come off. That needle minder is not a permanent fixture, by the way. I've got another one coming that will be permanent, that will see space. Anyway, that's where I've got my needles, in that little box that sits in there. And then obviously while I'm working, I have one of them out and keep it on the needle minder. This pocket, I've got a little pair of scissors that sits in there. Then the next section, this is where there are pockets for my piece of work and also for the pattern at the back there. Pattern which obviously got tea spilt all over it like usual. This is the elephantine chart that I'm working on. This is the next in the medieval menagerie series. I mean, isn't that a beautiful elephant? So that's in there. There's another sort of biggish pocket in the final piece behind here, which I haven't got anything at the moment. And then this section, which can hold 8 bobbins. So you could use this pocket if you needed additional bobbins. And there's also a ring that I've put in so that if I want to store flosses that are on floss drops, I've got a place to put that as well. So I'm really pleased with how that's turned out. And when I do finish the stitching roll piece, I am going to make another one of these because I think they're great. I do really like how the Tula Pink fabric looks with this though, so I'm very pleased with that. So I've got the elephantine project to work on. I'm not sure how much of that I will do. It's quite close work and it does require quite a lot of concentration. So I am also taking in this bag, yeah, which you can see is much more of a mundane mess, the stitching roll piece. I'll just show you where I'm up to with that actually, because I have, I think, done quite a lot of work since I last showed you. I've got past the point where I would say her design finishes about here, and then after that I've gone really off piece. You're supposed to just repeat it, but I don't really like repeating things, so I've done a different hoop, different style of hoop, different threads in another pinkish and so on, and I'm just going to play around with that until it ends up being the right size to go on the outside of the stitching buddy, which it will. So that's really pleasing, and I'm excited for how that works out. So those are, I think, the two projects I'm going to take with me to stitch. There will also be, as I say, the kit project that we get given. I imagine there will be quite a lot of time for things that are not stitching. On Saturday, there's a vendor table, there's a quiz, you know, there'll be all sorts of other things going on. So what I have found from watching Flosstube videos of people who go to these things is people take 400 different projects with them and come back having put in about 10 stitches in total. So I'm not going to overfill my suitcase. I mean, elephantine, if I work on that solidly for the whole weekend, I don't think I'll have finished. So there's enough to do. The other thing which I'm going to take, I think there's a Freebie de-stash table, and I'm going to take this. I bought this over the summer in a charity shop, and I don't dislike it, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to stitch from it. So I thought, actually, I will just take this and somebody else can have it and enjoy it. I only paid, I can't remember, £3.50, I think, £3, something like that. So there are, how many patterns are there? 5 sections each with 5 different projects in. So I think there are 20 samplers and additional smalls. The first section are reproduction samplers. So you can see it's colour charts. This one is specialty stitches with the Bargello. But this one, I think, pretty much all cross stitch. There's some 1/1 cross stitch. You can see where this is blank here. That's why you do the 1/1 from the previous page. So they're nice. They're well reproduced in colour. The colours are not absolutely my favourite, and I think you can tell that the book is 20-30 years old. Yeah, it's got that sort of styling to it, but actually, particularly if you are willing to chart your own colours, I think, you know, some of these would be absolutely beautiful things to stitch if you're a sampler sort of person. So hopefully this will find a home with someone who will enjoy that. This is carnations, and then you can see here 4 flora and fauna miniatures. So those are what they call the additional patterns. But, you know, those are quite substantial additional patterns. They are not tiny. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've shown lots of charts in that, and I didn't really mean to, but this is quite an old book and out of print, and I hope that will be all right. Okay, so that was everything I brought with me to give away. I can't remember whether I talked in that about the stitching that I brought, but I'll maybe mention that a little bit as we go on. So this was the very first Stitch in London retreat. It was organised by Marie from Stitches and Diamonds. I will put her links below. She did a really, really brilliant job. I think there's nothing around the sort of organisational aspect or the facilities or the event timetable or anything like that that you would say, oh, that didn't really work. She just really thought it through carefully. She was very good at communicating. Yeah, it just felt like you were in safe hands, which, excuse me, I've had a cold. A couple of days before the retreat, I thought it might be COVID, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to go. Anyway, I tested. It was not COVID, but I am coughing and sneezing a little bit. Yes, no, I was just saying, those of you who were in the knitting online community about 10 years ago, 15 years ago now maybe, will know that conventions organised by people for the first time don't always go to plan. But there was nothing of that here, and I think one of the things that was really reassuring about that all the way through was the just clear communication. Marie was really responsive to emails. She was in the Facebook group answering people's questions. She talked about things on her video, and then a few days before the retreat sent out all the information that we were going to need for it. So that was brilliant. What was the other thing I was going to say just then? Oh yeah, and I think the other thing that was good about it as well, the way she did it, we all organised our own accommodation and were responsible for our own meals. So we were only paying her the money for the retreat itself. And so there was a certain, obviously that's then a much smaller amount than if it's an all-inclusive. And you can choose things to suit your budget. So I stayed a bit further away, somewhere that was a bit less expensive. Other people stayed in the hotel where the retreat was being hosted, and that was fine. So you're a bit more responsible for that, but also it meant you weren't trusting someone, frankly, we didn't really know, only just from YouTube, with large amounts of money. It was just the amount for the stitching room itself and the associated things with that. And if the worst came to the worst, there'd be a room and we'd be stitching in it. But it was great, and the hotel did really well. The refreshments were good. There's a tea and coffee machine that was just available all the time, and then there were pastries in the morning and muffins and that kind of thing. And then, like I say, we were responsible for our own meals. You could have meals in the hotel. There was a place where you could get lunch and dinner, and I assume breakfast if you were staying there. But also, it was 5 to 10 minutes walk. You had Watford Shopping Centre with all the sort of big chain places. And I will tell you about where I went for dinner on Saturday night. I mostly brought food with me because I'm trying to do low carb again at the moment, so it's just easier to bring stuff with you. So all of that went really well. On arrival, we were greeted with an individually labelled gift bag that had all the sort of documentation that you needed, information about the hotel and the Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. It also had a couple of patterns. I'll talk to you about those in just a moment, and raffle tickets, and a lovely handwritten card from Marie that she'd written a card for everyone who came, which was just amazing. And she greeted everyone, and she was like, oh, and I think there's a space over at this table, and you came and sat down, and I was just on the most amazing table. I was sitting between, on my left, Chloe, who is Girl with a Gavel Stitches, and on my right, Ruthie, who is Crow's Feet Stitching, and they were just brilliant. I mean, the whole table was just brilliant, but in particular, those two, just so much fun, and real friends, I think, and yeah, so much to talk about that happened there. So Friday was basically just hanging out and stitching and then having food when you wanted. Saturday was the day when all the stuff happened. So there were vendors there was the quiz, there was a raffle, the smalls exchange, all of that kind of stuff was, so Saturday was the kind of big everything's happening day. And then Sunday again today was quieter, with really just, stitching and chatting going on. So some people were only there for Saturday, some people could only make it Saturday and Sunday, and some of us went for the whole thing. So where am I going to start? There was an enormous amount of acquisition seemed to happen, which, I don't feel like I bought loads. I did buy some things, and I'll show you those, but I just seemed to acquire a lot of stuff. So let's start with Friday. So in the gift bag that we got when we arrived, and we did know in advance that there was going to be a pattern with a kit. I'm sorry, I'm not going to cut out all the coughing. I'll just have a drink of water. But there is just going to be coughing happening throughout this video. So we knew there was going to be a little kit because we'd been asked in advance, would we prefer Ada or even weave or linen in various counts. I can't remember exactly what all the options are, but certainly some people were stitching on very fine linen and some people were stitching on Ada, and I think I got the even weave. So let me just find, I haven't got a picture of the finishing. I'm just going to flash the design you can see. Little stitch in London. There's a little Coldstream guard with the bearskin hat and a crown and a Union Jack and some threads. And this is designed by Yasmin from Yasmin's Made with Love. I'll put the link in the description below. And so we got all the flosses, little floss ring. And you see, like, somebody, I don't know whether Marie did this or Yasmin did this or somebody has done this. They've not just put the flosses on lovely little floss rings, floss drops, but they've put little stickers with the symbol and the number of the DMC and the colour already labelled up to start stitching. Some people started stitching on it immediately, and so some people had theirs finished by Saturday, and on Sunday there were several finished with the retreat project, so that was fun. I did start mine, but not until the Sunday. By Sunday I was a bit like, I can't do I don't know where I am. So it's like, this will be brilliant because it's really easy stitching. It's one stitch on, one stitch off. I'll just do the border. Anyway, this is where I got to. And it was all looking lovely. But you may not have been able to tell this just from the little flash of the pattern I showed. I've stitched a really nice square border, and I was really proud of myself, and it all lined up and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the pattern's rectangular. So this is the wrong size and shape. I'm going to make it work. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Anyway, it came with finishing. And again, we've been asked, do we want finishing material to make it into a pillow or finishing material to make it into like a flat fold thing? Anyway, that's what I went for. But because I'd done mine the wrong shape, the board was the wrong size. So anyway, I gave my little bit of board away to someone else. And I'm going to make it work, but I'm going to need an extra bit of board that will be the right size to finish that. But also with the finishing, we got some tartan fabric to use and some mini pom-pom trim. So I think that'll be a really, really fun little thing to have as a sort of souvenir of the weekends. Really fun, you know, British pattern, reminding us of London, and it's got the date on it. And I've got some extra space at the bottom of mine, so I will personalise mine in some way. So that was the first thing that we all got. In the box as well was a thing which I was very excited about, because this is my pattern. Hooray! I contacted Marie a couple of months ago to say, would you be interested in including an extra little freebie in the thing? She's like, oh yeah. And I thought she was just going to put a download link that people could download it when they wanted. But anyway, it was lovely. I got there and she printed them all out. So this is mine. It's a Union Jack pattern, obviously with stitching related things in the blue sections. So I took my finished version of this so that people could see what theirs would end up looking like. And several people came and said they really liked it and were planning to stitch it quite soon. Obviously it wasn't a kit, so people, unless they happened to have brought stuff with them that they could use, people weren't starting this immediately. But you know, it's a nice thing to kind of have as you go home and remember the retreat, hopefully a little thing to stitch along with that. So that was in the goodie bag. That was all the info stuff. Right, where next? Also on the Friday, table gifts. So not everyone did table gifts, which is completely fine. I was on a table with a lady who'd made gifts for not just our table, but literally everyone in the room, as far as I could tell. So Hazel had made these little lined fabric bags to wrap up a whole set of little quilted pin cushions. So everyone's was different. Mine, you can see, has got sort of crazy quilting. Some people had a little kind of crazy log cabin, or, you know, different things. And mine has got a sort of, this is not patchwork, this is a patchwork print on the back. So that's lovely. Little pin cushion. Thank you, Hazel, and for the bag, which is brilliant. So I put all the other little sort of freebie things, although actually all my stuff has got all over the place. Anyway, also from someone on our table is this Union Jack. I'm not going to try and get it out with him. Now, it is magnetic. She had ordered them thinking they would work as needle minders, and then she's like, the magnet's not quite strong enough to use it from a needle minder. But she gave them out anyway, and I think they're really sweet. And I plan to use mine on my Stitch in London kit. So there is a Union Jack in the pattern, and I think probably what I might do is, instead of stitching that Union Jack, is include this in the finished design. Attach that in some way there. So that was lovely. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, who's on our table, she was supposed to have come to the weekend with her daughter, adult daughter, for daughter's birthday, but the daughter was ill. So Sarah came, and she was able to take some stuff back for her daughter and share it with her. And they both won prizes in the raffle and that kind of thing. So that was nice. But it was, yeah, it was a bit disappointing that Emma wasn't able to join us. What else do we have? So this was not someone on my table. This was just someone who'd made little things for everyone and got these little envelopes that she had stamped very beautifully that included a little snowflake and a couple of buttons in this star shape, and then pins so that you could attach those to a finished project if you wanted to. So that was really lovely, and I've now forgotten the name of the lady who brought those around, but thank you very much. I do remember the name of the lady who brought these around. This was Penny, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it says Penny Flosstube on the back. Aren't they the most beautiful Flosstrubes? A beautiful dog. So she has a dog like this, not actually a picture of her dog, but her dog who looks like this. And what I really like about these, they're cardstock and with the rounded corners, and I just love that square shape. I think that's really effective. And then blank on the back, so you can put the name and the number or whatever of the thread that you're using. So thank you very much for those, Penny. Lovely. What else? Oh, and there was some Terry's chocolate orange, not Terry's, it's mine. I think those were from the goodie bag from Marie entry. So we had chocolates there. People brought a lot of chocolates and other assorted goodies to put in the middle of the table to eat while we were stitching. We were well supplied at my table. What else did I get from people? So this is a needle minder. I don't know what I've done with the magnet. I have got the magnet somewhere for the back of it. This was from Lisa, who came all the way from Germany for the retreat. It's not going to show very well on the camera. There you go. And she had 3 different styles of needle minder and went around and everybody chose one. So I chose this fabulous sort of 1950s stylized lady with the sewing machine. I really like that. So thank you, Lisa, for that. This is from Susan. Susan, the Blue Crab Stitcher. She has come all the way from Maryland in the United States. You know, obviously she comes from, I think all the people who come from overseas have made a longer trip of it. And there weren't loads. There was Lisa from Germany, Susan from America, and then some ladies who I'll tell you about in a minute. So thank you, Susan, for this beautiful, she is the Blue Crab Stitcher on Instagram. So she's made this lovely blue crab floss ring. Good. I think those were all the sort of general ones. Oh, no, they weren't. This was also for everybody. This is Leo and Roxy Floss. And this is Leo and Roxy Floss that was dyed specially for the retreat by Kerry from Leo and Roxy Floss Company, who was at the retreat. And not just Kerry, but also Caroline from Evertote, and then their friend Laurie, who was with them as well. So this was kind of amazing. I think she was like, oh, I've got a skein for everyone. Oh, but I seem to have loads and I don't want to take her home. So anyway, I ended up with 2 skeins of this. And it's coming out a bit more turquoise on screen than it is really. It's a sort of greyish blue. Maybe there's a bit of turquoise in there. And it's got these beautiful speckles in. I don't know if you can see sort of speckled dark thing. And it made so much sense to me, actually. I was talking to Caroline and she said that Kerry used to be a yarn dyer, and you definitely get that sort of sense of the same aesthetic that hand-dyed yarn quite often has in the way that she dyes her floss. So this is a not repeated colourway. It's not from the main catalogue. It was only available at the retreat, and I have 2 skeins of it at someone at my table. So it doesn't have a name. Someone at my table suggested it might be called London Drizzle, because it does slightly have that slightly bluish grey, speckledy, rainy look to it. But I think it's really beautiful, and I don't quite know what I'm going to do with it, but I have an idea of something I might use it with. I bought some fabric that I think might go really well with that. So thank you so much, Kerry from Leo and Roxy. So that was all the things that were being given out by people coming around, just, you know, leaving stuff on everyone's plate, or, you know, offering everyone a thing. And that was just so much fun throughout the whole weekend. Every so often there'd be somebody with a little bag of stuff, or, you know, handing out things here and there, and just really, really generous. I mean, Leo and Roxy Floss. Pretty excited about that. What else was there? So the other thing on the Friday that was there was the brag table. In fact, I've got 2 lots of video of the brag table, because I took some, and then the next day loads more stuff had appeared, so I took more, and then the next day, today, there was like a whole other table that someone had taken over with their thing. So I'll put maybe the first little bit of footage that I got here, and you'll see some of the really beautiful things that people had stitched and brought with them. So brag table. There was also a freebie table throughout the whole weekend, with a charity donation box. I'd brought sampler book that I bought in a charity shop earlier this summer, which I looked at and I really liked, but I was like, I'm never going to stitch this. Other people are going to like this more. So that's what I brought for the freebie table. I feel like I scored really well on the freebie table, and I hope I didn't like massively overtake all the good stuff. Other people got good stuff too, I think. And I did put a donation in the box. So this is Needleminder from Lollipop Stitches. It's what does it say? You Go Gull, Seagull Needleminder. I think this is right. This is the person that Marie said had been planning to come and then was ill. I don't know whether it was COVID or something else, and hadn't been able to make it. But I think this is the same person, Lollipop Stitches. But anyway, that was on the freebie table, and I really loved it. This was actually Hazel, who made the amazing pin cushion and bag. She said she'd put this on the freebie table, which I didn't know when I picked it up, but I really like it. I think it was just like, you know, freebie magazine kit. And I don't know that necessarily I will use the Ada on the back. And it's even got a little zip on the bag. That's what you're supposed to make with it. Oh, a little zipped purse, it says. I'm not going to make it into a purse. And I'm not sure I'm going to use the Ada that it came with, or even the thread that it came with. But I really liked that little old-fashioned sewing machine pattern. So I was really pleased with that little freebie. These. So this is a kit as well, on plastic canvas. I might see, I haven't checked actually whether everything is in here. Yeah, here we are. Threads on a thing, plastic canvas, somebody started it, and there's a needle where they started it, and then there's for the other one. So you can see these are not huge, and hopefully that's a bit easier to see. This says Christmas tree toy. I'm not sure that's a brilliant translation. I don't think these are particularly Christmassy. I picked them up thinking they would be a beautiful sort of autumn time decoration. So they've got that sort of harvest feel, I think, with the wheat as well as the berries and the flowers. And I don't know that I would necessarily do them. I don't think I will do them on the plastic canvas. I might do them on some perforated paper and make them into ornaments, but I also might just do them and finish them in small hoops and have them in my sort of hoop gallery. So I don't know, but the floss is great. I might use the plastic canvas for something else at some point. So I was really pleased to have those. I don't know who donated those. This is another magazine freebie that someone had brought with all of these chickens. And I'm certainly not going to do 9 chickens. But what I love the idea of doing is one of those chickens for my miniature menagerie. Do you remember the little book of small animal stitches that I'm doing? I don't have a chicken in that, and I think I should have a chicken in that. So that seems to be a sort of perfect fit for that project. This was originally with World of Cross Stitching magazine. Yeah, so I was pleased to get that. And then the last thing that I've got some friends who are getting married next year, and I've been thinking it'd be good to do to maybe stitch something for them. So this is a heart in hand pattern, Today Forever. And not only is it the chart, which is lovely, and obviously there's the alphabet so you can personalise it, although the couple I know who are getting married that I might do this for are called Michael and Eleanor. So I wouldn't have to personalise it that much, in fact. But it also has still got like the beads in it. So that's kind of amazing, I think. The beads and the tiny buttons. So I don't know that I would necessarily finish it as a drum for them. I might well do it just as a hoop so they can hang it somewhere. And I probably will change some stuff around. Anyway, we will see. I'll make my own mind up. But I thought, actually, as a starting point at least, I really like that for a wedding thing. So those are the freebies that I got on Friday. Saturday I arrived, and there was a queue. Not to get in the room, but for the vendors. So there was a whole range of vendors there. There were quite a lot of small vendors who had sent stock to Marie, and so there's a table that she and her partner were sort of manning and taking payment on behalf of various people. So there are a couple of project bag makers, needle minder makers, and small fabric dyer. There were a couple of people there who were on the retreat who were also selling their own printed patterns. And then there was Coffee Craft Company who was selling, she brought lots of fabric and also needle minders and various other things. Sally from Caterpillar Cross Stitch came, and she was selling kits and needle minders and her book. I think that was it. There wasn't anyone selling thread, which I was a little bit disappointed by. I think that was the only thing I think I put on the feedback form was I would have loved there to be a vendor who was selling hand-dyed floss or over-dyed floss. I think that would have been a really, really great addition. Anyway, that didn't stop me purchasing from the vendors who were there. So, Caterpillar Cross Stitch, I bought that. Which is to say, will you look at that? Dachshund needle minder. Now, I actually also bought another needle minder, but she didn't have it with her. And she was really kind. She was just like, oh, that's fine. Buy 2 at the discounted show price, and you don't need to pay postage, backing, whatever. I'll just charge you for 2 now, and email me and, with the details of the one that you want, and I'll post it out when I get back. So I've also ordered the gnome needle minder, which is the one that they did for the How Does Your Garden Grow stitch along, and I've always really liked that needle minder. So I was a bit disappointed she didn't seem to have any in the box with her, but she's like, no, I've definitely got loads at home and I'll send you one. So that's quite fun. I like that in a few days' time I will be getting a little more treat, like I'm still on the like I'm still on the retreat. So that's what I bought from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. Then I bought fabric. That was the thing that I'd said to myself, I'm allowed to buy fabric because I need fabric. You always need fabric, and it's rare that I get to buy hand-dyed fabric after I've seen it in person. And Marie had said on Friday, oh, it'll be cash only, which actually wasn't quite true. Caterpillar Cross Stitch took a card and Coffee Craft Company took cards as well, but mainly the sellers were only using cash. So I took an amount of cash and I'm like, you're allowed to spend this, and you're allowed to spend this on fabric. And so I did. So first of all, I bought from Cross Stitch Bunny. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I don't know. Let's try again and see if we can just show you. If you're thinking that looks like fluorescent yellow and green, you're right. If you're thinking it looks a bit washed out, that's about right, I think. If you're thinking it looks a bit washed out, no, there is nothing washed out about this fabric. It is lemon and lime, really nicely dyed. And it's what is it? 40 by 53 centimetres. I can't work out what that is in real money. But anyway, it's a reasonable size piece. I will probably use that for smalls and cut it up, I think, rather than one big. I don't really do big things. So, you know, there's plenty of that to do some fun, smaller things. And also from Cross Stitch Bunny, this, which is, I think, a fat eighth, smaller piece, really, someone once described it as the sort of tie-dye fabric, and it is. It's a really strongly variegated, old-fashioned tie-dye kind of style, which I really like. So that is apparently 48 by 29 centimetres, if that's any help to you at all. And then this is what I got from Coffee Craft Company. Oh, both of those I think are 32 count linen, is that right? Yes, both of those are 32 count linen. Then this is from Coffee Craft Company, and this is 28 count linen, and this is a fat quarter. And this is, I just think, beautiful. It's like jeans, isn't it? It's like an indigo dye. So it is variegated, and you can see that, I think. But I think maybe, I don't know. I was going to say maybe it's slightly less obviously variegated in real life, but I'm not sure that I could quite tell the difference. Anyway, this is the fabric I thought would look really fantastic with the Leo and Roxy thread. This sort of like denim background with the kind of grey. Okay, that really looks rubbish on the camera. Let's see what happens if we give it some white to try and balance it. No, that's super washed out. You'll have to take my word for it. It looks amazing. It really looks amazing together. So we'll see. But that's what I thought when I got those two things together. I was like, they look amazing. So those were my purchases. Yeah, I think that's right. That is what all I spent money on were those three fabrics and the needle minders. But I have still more acquisitions to come. Still more. So the next thing that happened after lunch, before lunch on the Saturday, we had the quiz. It was a really hard quiz. So we had 4 sections. There was a section about stitching, and it was not straightforward. It was kind of, here's this DMC number, what colour is that? I'm like, I don't know. Who knows that sort of thing? Anyway, not me. And then there was a round about London. And then there was a round about royal families of the world. And I can't remember whether there was a theme to the last round or not. But anyway, it was quite hard. And then the bonus question, she showed us a Heaven and Earth Designs full coverage pattern. Was like, so this is the tiebreak question. How many stitches are there in this pattern? So yeah, it was quite hard. We were all kind of sitting there going, this is hard. Anyway, so we did the quiz, and then we had lunch, and after lunch it was time for the smalls exchange. So the smalls exchange, I'm sure I've explained this in the previous bit, but just to remind you, you stitched an item, you made a package that indicated something of the theme of the item, from the outside, like if it was a Halloween theme or a Christmas theme or something like that. And if you wanted, you could include up to £10 worth of bits and pieces to go with it. Now, I'd had my eye on one particular box as I'd walked past the smalls exchange table several times, and I wasn't sure how she was going to do it, whether it was going to be calling one person at a time or a table at a time or whatever. So I was like, well, just don't know what will be on the table when you get there. Anyway, she just said, wait, the smalls exchange is now open, come and get it. So it wasn't a stampede. People were very polite, but it was, yeah, a little bit elbows going. Anyway, I got there. I was not the first by any means. And I was like, oh, this one's gone. And then I kind of looked over and I'm like, no, it's just hiding behind there. So I got the one I wanted, and it was in a cardboard box, which I can't show you because I've got my phone propped on it. But this is what you could see from the outside. She'd used this ribbon, beautiful butterfly ribbon, to wrap a bow around this plain craft card box. And I think that's quite cool, and yeah, we'll see. Anyway, very pleasing. So first thing, she put in a caterpillar cross stitch needle minder, and this was one that I'd been looking at earlier and thinking, oh, I like that one, should I get that one? Anyway, didn't need to. I mean, it is beautiful, and I do love the caterpillar cross stitch needle minder, so I was really delighted with that. There was a little letter, also butterfly themed. There were some sweeties which have now been opened, which I don't know if you can see that, but they are butterfly shaped sweets and also delicious. And so this was what she had made. Look at that. Now, physically, this is not very big. I think the stitching is probably only 4 inches wide, but it is stitched on 40 count fabric over 1. That is, she is doing 40 stitches for every inch. Where there's a square inch of fabric, she has done 1600 stitches. The whole pattern, the stitcher told me afterwards, came out at over 5,000 stitches. When I found the person who'd given this to me, I went over and I said to her, the thing is, you need to know, this is not a small. This is an enormous amount of work. I mean, isn't it stunning though? The colours are just beautiful. And the design, I just think, is... I think it's one of those things that's perfect for this kind of exchange, because I would never, ever have stitched this. I'd have looked at it and thought, it's full coverage. It's hard work. I'm not going to do that. But also, I really love it. So someone else has stitched it for me. And all I can say, Hannah, is thank you. Thank you very much indeed. She's backed it. I mean, this is a brilliant thing. So she was so sweet. When I was talking to her after, she's like, I've never finished a thing. Like, she's finished a stitched piece before, but she always had it professionally framed. I think she did only finish one of those. And so she's like, I don't know how to finish something for a smalls exchange. I don't know what to do. And then she found this, and it's like a wooden thing, circle, that you can just put into the back of your hoop, and it holds the fabric in place. So you don't have to do any lacing or gluing, and you can see it literally just pops out. It's just this hoop thing. So all you have to do is cut your fabric, fold it down nicely, wedge this in, and you've got this really neat, beautiful, careful framing. And she's like, so I thought I'd do that, partly because it was easy, but also so that whoever gets it, me, it's easy for them if they want to take it out and do things differently. It's not laced or it's not glued or whatever. You can do what you want with it. Anyway, so this on the back says cross stitch rules. I don't know where she got these from, but I'm going to have to look that up, because I just thought that's a really nice idea, and it's such a neat finish for really quite little effort. So this is going to be perfect. If you've watched my channel before, I have a part of a wall in my house where I have circular finishes, hoops or circular frames or whatever, and so this will just fit perfectly in there, and I really love it. The design is from Stitches Lovers. I'm going to put the link below, and they have a lot of really stunning patterns. This is actually from a set of 4 butterfly designs, and I half want to get it and stitch the others. I am not going to. I'm just going to be content with my one. But anyway, so that was from Hannah, and I will put the link to her Instagram below. In the sports exchange, Marie was like, don't put your name on the outside, but, put something on the inside so they can find you. So I had this letter, and it's a lovely letter, and it's signed Hannah. And I thought, oh, I know who that is. I've been talking to someone earlier in the day who's called Hannah, who had a butterfly sticker, excuse me, on her lamp that she was using, her desk lamp, and I was like, must be her. So I went over and said, was this from you? And she's like, no, I didn't participate in the sports exchange. And so then I went to Maria and was like, well, is there another Hannah? She's like, oh, I think there is. And the table nearby was like, oh, we've got a Hannah, but she's just had to pop out for a bit. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I know who you mean. I know who was sitting there. I'll thank her when she comes back in. So eventually she came back in and I went over and was like, thank you so much. She's like, no, I didn't participate in the sports exchange. I'm like, who's Hannah? So then I literally had to go around every table going, do you have someone called Hannah? Is there someone called Hannah? The last table I got to, and I was like, this is quite a long time at this point after we'd done the exchange. And I'm like, she's going to think I don't care. She's going to think I don't love her. Whatever. Anyway, eventually I found her and was able to say thank you. And I really do love it, Hannah. I feel like I just lucked out completely. The lady who got mine was polite enough to say that she didn't mind that I'd stitched her a biscornu with blood dripping down from the... No, it's quite fun. She... I can't remember the full thing, but her Instagram handle begins book lover something something something, and so she was like, as soon as I saw the wrapping paper I'd used had various quotes from books, including the Sherlock Holmes one, which was sort of what I had focused on. But she was like, so I thought I have to get the book one. So she was really pleased with the book in there, and I was like, well, I haven't read it, so I don't know what it's like. She said, oh well, I'll let you know. And she just, I think she got the theme and was happy with that. What I was really nervous about was that it would be sort of the last one on the table and someone would end up having to have it, and then it would be just not their thing. Some people really would have hated it, but I think it was all right. I think I got away with it. So that was all excitement on Saturday afternoon, and then we got to announcement of the quiz results and the raffle and those things. Now, at this point, so what had happened, in our goodie bags, Marie had put a little bag in there with our raffle tickets. And there was a blue ticket, which is just your participant number for door prizes. And then there were 8 orange raffle tickets where you had, were there 8 or 6? I can't remember how many we had each, but anyway, I think it was 8. And you had the 2 parts, because what you did, which I just thought was brilliant, is all the raffle prizes, there was a little cup next to them, and you could choose which of the prizes you wanted to put your raffle numbers in for. So, and then you kept obviously your numbers so that when they were called you knew they were yours, but you could say, I'm going to put all 8 because I really want to give myself the best chance of winning this prize. Or you could spread them out and say, do you know what, I don't really care. Or you could say, you could play your chances any way you want it. I thought it was really brilliant way of doing it. So that's what we did. The person I was sitting next to managed to put both her tickets into the raffle thing and not hold on to them. But it was fine. Marie gave her a second set. And if you were me, what you did was you put all your tickets in properly. And then like 5 minutes before, when Marie says, I'm about to announce the raffle results in 5 minutes, you're like, I don't know where I put my tickets. And then you have to look through everything that you've got. And as it turns out, I had quite a lot of stuff and all the bags and all the things. I don't know where they are. You can't find them. And you get your whole table is looking for them. And you're like, I've just lost them. It's fine. I just won't win a thing. It doesn't matter. And then I noticed a little bag, little plastic bag with raffle tickets in amongst the bags of the person sitting next to me. And I'm like, well, are those yours? And she's like, no, I've got mine in front of me on the table. I'm like, I think those are mine. So anyway, I did manage to get them out, which was good because literally the first number drawn out of the raffle was my number. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. And so this is what I won in the raffle. We're going in the wrong order. I'll tell you about the quiz in a minute as well. I won Laurie Holt's Scrappiness is Happiness book, which I was really delighted about. I didn't put all my raffle tickets in this one, but I put quite a lot in this one because I thought not everyone there is going to be interested in the quilting things. Some people will be, but not everyone will do quilting as well. So I thought, I think I probably have a reasonably higher chance of winning that, because not as many people will go for it. I'll put quite a lot on there. And, you know, and I've seen people talk about this on Flosstube, and and I am just starting to do a little bit more quilting than previously, and so I was just like, that's sort of what I want. And it came with, which actually is now the thing that I can't find unless I put them in here. Oh, I did. Look at me, how organised. Came with 2 other quilt patterns, the support group bra pattern, which I'm not sure I would ever make that as a quilt, but I could definitely see making like project bags or something with that quilt block on the front. And also this amaryllis quilt pattern, which you can see is being done in sort of Christmassy colours, but actually it's just a star quilt block. You could do it in any colours and it would look lovely. That's where the thing is there. So I was really chuffed. Big chunky quilt book and 2 quilt patterns. That was my raffle prize. There were also door prizes. Won one of those, which was this project bag from the Fat Quarter Shop. It's So Emma. These are big. I'm not going to get it out of the packet because I'm sure if you've watched any Flosstube videos, you've seen these. But they're really big, nice, sturdy boxed bottoms. I think probably I will use this for quilting rather than cross stitch, because I don't really do big cross stitch projects that need a bag like this. I think for quilting that'll be really great. So I was really chuffed with that in the door prizes. And then when she announced the quiz results, and like I say, it had been a hard quiz. I was not really expecting to win, and I didn't win. So there were 3 first prizes, which were amazing prizes. They were a project bag from Nest Creates, really beautiful project bags, and then charts. So one of them was Blackbird Designs, one of them was Hello from Liz Matthews. I can't remember what the third designer was. So there were project bag charts, and then like various notions. So a pair of scissors, prim scissors, or I can't remember what all they all had. But anyway, they were really, really lovely prizes. So the first 3 people who came first, second and third won those, their choice of which one they got. And then she said, and then, after that, the people who came fourth, there was a tie. And she said, and it was me and one other lady. And we both just sort of said that because, she'd said there are these 3 prizes and we were fourth. And anyway, it turns out there were prizes for a few more places. She's not going to come out as a prize. And what there was there were 2 fabrics and 2 patterns, and we worked out between us which one we should choose. So I got this fabric, which is also from Coffee Craft Fabrics. It's not quite the same as the one I had previously bought, but it's not far off. It's much less variegated in its colourway, and it's a fat quarter, and this is also 28 count even weave in this slightly mid denim-y blue. I guess the other one's more variegated and darker, and this is sort of a mid blue, but I mean that's a fabric I will do lots and lots of things on. And then there were 2 patterns from Little Dove Designs. There was 'Tis the Season, and I got Home of a Stitcher, which, yeah, there's a picture there I can show you. So that's sweet. I love the little scissors and thread at the bottom of that. So that was my quiz prize, my raffle prize, and my dual prize. We did on our table, there was one person on our table who didn't win, I think, but like we had a very winning-y table. Most people won at least one thing. I mean, there were a lot of prizes, and I think there were probably about half the people there won a prize of one kind or another. So it was really fun. It felt very, like everyone had a good chance of winning, and there were all sorts of amazing prizes of different kinds. And the lady at our table, whose daughter hadn't been able to make it, she had both of their sets of raffle numbers because she picked up the goodie bag for her daughter. So she had both sets of raffle numbers, and they both won prizes, and so she was able to take stuff home for her daughter. And I think actually her daughter won the sort of most coveted prizes were 5 Blackbird Designs books of various charts, and her daughter won one of those. So that was really lovely that she was able to at least take something home for her to feel better about. So I think that is all the haul. There was quite a lot of haul. There was some stitching happened, and I mostly was working on my elephantine project. I don't know that you'll see huge amounts of work done on it, but I was working on it. I did some on this elephant, and I also, mostly I ended up just working on more of the border because that was relatively easy to do without a lot of counting and concentrating. Lots of people were interested in the pattern, and some people were asking about my other patterns. So I sold, I made some Etsy sales while I was there. So thank you very much if you're one of the people who bought the patterns. I met, actually, which was absolutely delightful, I met Noreen there. And Noreen is the person who made my very first ever purchase from my Etsy shop. She bought one of my Christmas patterns and she had it with her printed out, and that was just lovely. And yeah, so like I say, 1 or 2 people bought patterns from my Etsy shop while I was there, and several people were like, I really want to do the elephants when you finish those. So that was just lovely. So that's mostly what I was working on, a little bit on the kit. I don't think I got out the Doreen Jones, which was the only other thing I'd taken. And I didn't start, I had brought stuff that I could have done a new start if I'd wanted to on a new design project that I'm working on, but I'm not surprised that I didn't get around to starting that either. So some stitching happened, not loads, it's fine. Lots of talking happened, lots of friends were made. Yeah, there are people there who I really want to hang out with more. Chloe and Ruthie and Laura and Hannah, and Hazel, who's on my table, lives not far from me, so we might meet up for coffee. Or what I thought actually I might suggest to her is maybe if I've got a free day or free afternoon, we could drive over to the Nimble Thimble or somewhere like that, which is a bit of a trek, but you know, would be a fun place to go shopping together, something like that. So we'll see. So that was really fun. On Saturday night, so on Friday night, I was quite tired because I'd had this cold and I hadn't been brilliantly sleeping. So I just got to dinner time and was like, you know, I'm just going to go to my hotel and rest. So that was fine. Saturday night, we were like, oh, well, let's go and find somewhere for dinner. Now, I know Watford a little bit, not because I've ever lived there, but because my work has their office in Watford. So we go out sometimes for staff Christmas meals and that kind of thing. And there's a really nice Lebanese restaurant that we went to last Christmas. And it was, less than 10 minutes from the hotel where we were staying, just past Watford Junction. And there are other places along there to eat as well. So I was like, well, why don't we walk this way and we'll see if one of the other places we come to looks nice. And if not, I know there's this place further on. So that's where we ended up. And it was great. It was really great. It was extraordinary. So I had only ever previously been there at sort of lunchtime on a midweek day. And the food had been great and the service had been great. But, that was sort of it. Anyway, Saturday night, very busy. Lots of people who looked like they might be actually Lebanese. I don't know if they were or not, but, certainly not full of, white English people like me. And so they came and, we'd had a mixed platter to start with, loads of dips and, very sort of traditionally, sort of Middle Eastern food that I'm not sure I would necessarily be able to identify Lebanese from Turkish or, I'm sure there are differences, I just can't really tell them. But, so we had tarama salata and we had hummus and then some kind of aubergine thing that was not baba ganoush and tzatziki and beautiful bread and whatever. And the main courses came and Chloe, girl with a gavel, had ordered the keftika, the lamb shank, which came, so it was the first thing they brought out on its own, this sort of great platter, this great chunk of meat with an enormous tinfoil hook coming off the top. And trying to explain what this looks like, it looked like if you imagine Captain Hook's hand with the iron hook replicated in lamb shank and tinfoil. It was that. It was quite a look. Anyway, and then the rest of us had food that looked quite normal when it came. This huge Captain Hook, it's hilarious. I mean, I think it was delicious. It looked like it was, very tender and whatever. And certainly my food was delicious. And anyway, we just asked for the bill, and somebody had gone to the loo, and we were just sort of getting ready to go. And then the lights changed and the music changed, and then suddenly in the empty space, which was right next to our table at the back of the restaurant, there was this sort of empty space, a belly dancer appeared. So she was wearing this, black, sparkly, glittery costume with a push-up bra, and obviously her belly on show, and she had these kind of rainbow veils, and she's doing this stuff. And we were all just like, what have we walked into? And then I think it must have been somebody's birthday that they'd organised, and so then she got this lady out who must have been the birthday girl and sort of showing her doing whatever. And then she was going around like, do you want to join in? Do you want to join in? And Hannah was sitting at our table, admitted that she had once learned belly dancing. So we made her go and do a little bit. And then the lady starts taking off the rainbow veils. And I'm like, I don't know how much more she's going to take off. There wasn't a lot more that it felt like she could safely take off. Anyway, she didn't take off anymore. So yeah, but I mean, she was quite a performer. So that was dinner on Saturday night, was Lebanese food and bonus belly dancing. It was quite a thing. Yeah, no, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was a really, really great day. The other super, super exciting thing about the conference, and I can't say too much more about it now, but when the in the Facebook group before the retreat, people were sharing like their social media, Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and there was a lady whose name I didn't really recognise, and she's like, and this is my YouTube channel. I'm like, well, I'm sure I watch that YouTube channel, but it can't be her. It must be someone with just a really similar name. And anyway, and then I went and looked. I'm like, it is her. No way. Anyway, Caroline from Evertotes was there. Caroline from Evertotes was there, along with Kerry from Leo and Roxy and their friend Laurie. So they were there on holiday. Because so when I worked out that it was her in the Facebook group, and I just said, well, are you here selling stuff? And she's like, no, we're just here on holiday. But obviously they brought a generous gift. But, so we weren't purchasing from her. She was there and she was stitching and she was chatting. But also, so, a little bit fangirlish, starstruck, and also she's on holiday. She doesn't deserve to have lots of people just come and say, oh, I watch you on YouTube. But anyway, Chloe, who I was sitting next to, bravely went and spoke to her, and then I saw she was doing it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to edge in on this and say, look, I'm a fan as well. And she's like, oh, and you're Roz, because, we all badges, whatever. I'm like, yeah. She's like, and you've just started an Etsy shop, haven't you? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Caroline from Evertote knows that I have started an Etsy shop. And I'm like playing cool. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah. I didn't play it cool. I didn't really know how to play things cool. And she's like, oh, no, that's so cool and whatever. Anyway, so that's kind of amazing. It was lovely to meet her. She was really lovely, really, really lovely person. And Kerry as well from Leo and Roxy. She was someone I wished I'd got to spend more time with, to be honest, because she was so cool. But yeah, they know I exist. I mean, that's weird, isn't it? Isn't that weird? Anyway, I need to stop now because my throat is even more sore than when I started, and this has already gone for nearly an hour, and I still have to insert bits. If I haven't yet inserted all the footage from the brag table. Oh, I am just going to tell you about one more thing, actually, that I'm going to end the video with this. This was a lady who brought in her work just on the Sunday. I think some of it might have been out earlier in the weekend, but there wasn't really space for it. And today there was more table space because not everyone had been able to stay. And she brought out like 8 or 9 huge pieces of work that just took your breath away. So I took some footage of those and I asked her if it was all right to share it in my Flosstube, and she said that was fine, and I will put her Instagram handle below. She's Ludmilla. Ludmilla 1712. She's from Ukraine. So she says, so quite a lot of my Instagram feed is about the war. I'm like, why wouldn't it be? But just so you know, if you go over there will be stuff about the war, and that's why. And the sort of multicoloured sampler that you'll see with there's 2 birds that are blue and yellow. That's a Ukrainian designer has done that sampler, and it's all the sort of motifs associated with different areas of Ukraine, and that's one that's obviously she stitched this year in solidarity with her country folk who are still in Ukraine. But do go and check her out. She has some extraordinary projects. You know, I'm not a memorabilia person, and her memorabilia finished project was just extraordinary. And yeah, so much of this. And she's like, oh, anyone could do it. I'm like, no, they couldn't. These things should be in a museum. I mean, they really, really are absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Ludmilla, for bringing them to show the rest of us and show us how it should be done. But also just thank you to everybody that I said hello to over the weekend, everyone who came and said hello to me, everyone who was interested in what I was stitching, or everyone who checked out my shop, everyone who brought around table gifts, everyone who smiled and laughed and, you know, just shared the time together. It was a really great weekend, and I'm really looking forward to next year. Thank you so much for watching if you stuck through all the way to the end. See you next time.